Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 11. We are starting our final unit this week, which is on creative nonfiction. There is no face-to-face class on Tuesday because of All N Day, and so I'm keeping everybody on the same track, same timetable. So this week, your assignments are number one, to revise one of your flash fiction pieces, and I will get you feedback on anything you don't have feedback on yet. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather today, so my voice is a little scratchy, but I will try to be clear. And number two, you're going to complete a memory map assignment to get ready for creative nonfiction. So I'll explain what that is, but you're not actually writing a personal essay or a micro memoir this week. We're doing an activity to get ready. So, the first thing that's in your module this week is this introduction to creative nonfiction. You're going to read it, but I just want to point out a couple of the key points. One is that creative and nonfiction may seem like they don't go together because nonfiction is factual, it's true. It's something about your life from your perspective. So you can't write in creative nonfiction your mom's story as if you're your mom, or your grandmother's story, or your uncle's story. You can write about going out to lunch with your grandmother, what happened at lunch and what she told you. That's fair game. But it has to be, that's the nonfiction part. It has to be true, factual, something from your life. The creative part comes in how you tell that story. So it's using a lot of the strategies that we've already been working on. So imagery, sensory detail, figurative language, thinking about the form, being creative with the actual format of the essay on the page, etc. So you're going to read this, and then the two examples that you're going to look at this week are, let me pull this up, What Didn't Happen by Annika Fajardo. And what's awesome about this, let's see. Um, she says, this is true, right? She talks about what is happening. And then she says, if my mother had never taken me back to the US, if my parents had never parted, never fought over me, never fallen out of love, if I'd have grown up in that rented house in Colombia, I would have. Okay. So she was born in Colombia. Her parents split up. She's taken back to the US, and she knows both Colombia and the US. So she imagines in this, what would it be like what would my life be like if my parents had not split up and I had stayed and grown up in Colombia with my cousins and everything. And so she can do that because she is telling us that she's imagining it. She's being honest about she's imagining it, but she has real details because she spent enough time in Colombia with her relatives to get a picture of what her life would be like, right? So she's telling us both what really happened, but also what didn't happen. So this is a really creative way, right, to play with that idea of telling the truth in creative nonfiction. The second one's very different. So I wanted to give you just two really different examples so that you could see kind of the range of possibilities of creative nonfiction. There's a lot that you can do with it. And this is by Amarak Huey. It's liner notes for the debut album from the band we never formed. Isn't that great? I love that title. So the liner notes are the notes that would be come with an album, and they would say something about each song, each track, okay, on the album, on the record. And so he writes his essay by track one, track two, I think it goes up to track 10. And so he's talking about, track 12, sorry. He's talking about real memories and observations about growing up with his friends MJ, C, and S. We get to get a little mention there. But it's in this format of not a straightforward essay, as if it's liner notes. Like we talked about making a band, we kind of dreamt about it, as a lot of young people do. They never actually did it, but if they had had a record, right, this is what the liner notes would be. It talks about their lives and their friendship at the time. So this is often called our hermit crab essay, and the reason it's called that is because a hermit crab will pick up the shell of another animal shell that's been discarded and use it as its home. So it's taking on the form, if you will, of another animal. And similarly, these essays take on the form of some other kind of writing, in this case, liner notes for an album. It's not really liner notes for an album, it's really an essay, right, about his memories growing up with his friends. So those are two really cool examples that you're going to look at this week. And then I want to say briefly what you're doing with your memory map activity. because this is your big activity that you're doing this week. So, first step is you're going to take a piece of paper. If you have a bigger piece of paper, great, but a computer-sized piece of paper is fine too. Any drawing utensils you have, and you don't have to have any artistic skills. That's not the point of this. I know some of you do, but it's not necessary. You're going to draw a map of some place from your past that is meaningful to you. So it could be a neighborhood, farm, camp, someplace you worked, whatever it is, and draw it in as much detail as you can. Part of the exercise is that actually drawing it and mapping it out jogs your memory. That's part of the reason to do this. And then uh, as you're drawing it or after you're drawing it, you're going to go through and make some notes. What happened in different places? So I'm thinking ice cream store I worked at when I was in high school, there was a dumpster with raccoons, right? And we had to kick the dumpster before we threw something in. And one time the raccoon jumped right over my, like I felt it right over my shoulder and stuff like. Anyway, so you get the idea. Anything that you remember that happened, you're going to make just a little note somewhere on your map. And then you're going to type up 5 essay ideas from your map. So things, those 5 stories, right, that come up from your map. Um, and just write 1 to 3 sentences about each one. So it's not a ton, just to get the idea down. So I'd be like, I remember the time the raccoon jumped right over my shoulder um, at Quirk's carriage house, and I remember it jumped over the head of his son because he was really short. So anyway, so whatever your memory is, just jot that down. This is giving you some starter ideas that you can work with next week. So you're going to take a photo of your map, upload that, and also upload your 5 ideas. The other things that are in this unit just going to point out there's 2 pieces by Beth N. Fennelly, who is an awesome micro memoir writer. We're going to read some of her micro memoirs a little bit later on in this term, but these are 2 advice pieces she has about writing micro memoirs. One's on writing micro memoir, and the other one is 10 tiny tips. So she gives like 10 little tips about writing micro memoirs. So read those 2. Those will give you some a good starting point for thinking about essays for next week. Thanks so much, everybody. Hope you have a good week again. I will get you your feedback on your flash fiction here quickly. Thanks so much. I'm excited to see your memory maps this week.